Jim's junior colleague, David Cicilline, is here as well. David is in the leadership structure of the House. There's a very significant chance that the House comes into Democratic hands in November. There's some chance that the Senate does as well, but there's very little chance that the Senate does and the House doesn't. So we're, a lot of people around the country are looking to the House, and there the leadership of Jim and David is going to be really important, because we will then be in a position to have the House produce legislation that can then be rolled down the hallway of the Capitol to smash up against the doors of the Senate. And we now have something to really have a fight in the Senate over, because it is actual, something that is actually passed the House and could be made law. So we'll be working very carefully with the House leadership and the knock on wood, prospect that the House is in Democratic hands, and David will be a very important part of that conversation. David Cicilline.
I'm really delighted to be here, and I recognize from Jen's comments I'm the only thing that stands for genuine alcohol. So I will be quick. Oh, and then Sheldon, which will be very long, so, but I'll be quick. First to say thank you to my senator, our senior senator, Sheldon Whitehouse, not only for organizing this event, but for being such a great colleague and a great voice for Rhode Island in the Senate. I know you've heard it a lot today, but it's worth repeating. Sheldon's voice makes a difference not only to Rhode Island, but to the country. And I can tell you from my own conversations with his colleagues, he is respected, and they understand what he's fighting for, and when he speaks in the Senate and advocates, people really listen to him. They know he's smart, he understands these issues, and it's hard to imagine that we would be making any progress in the country, really, particularly in the national level, or stopping some of the really awful stuff without the strong voice of Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. So I just want to apologize. And I also want to mention that what Sheldon referenced with respect to Jim's amendment, this is like a huge accomplishment. Getting that included as a Democrat with Republican support on an issue that most of them don't acknowledge is even real is extraordinary. So it requires a lot of hard work. I want to say thank you to all of you. I mean, we are living in a particularly challenging time, and I think if you think about all of the things that we care about that are threatened, including in some ways the survival of our democracy, the area that I think where the greatest danger is presented is in the area of our environment. This is a place where the Trump administration has installed some of the worst people that have, in a relentless way, torn back environmental protections and given a kind of clear path to fossil fuel and destroying our water and our air and our environment. So this is an area where I think voices of states make a real difference, because some of the work that's being done in Rhode Island is really to respond to what the federal government is trying to do, and in some cases successfully doing. And I want to just recognize Janet Coit, who obviously leads that effort here in our state in an extraordinary way. I also want to recognize Carol Grant from the Governor's Energy Office, who's a longtime champion of this work. But all of you, for me, it's a great source of pride to come from a state that is responsible for the largest, or first and soon to be largest wind farm in North America. The new wind farm will power half the households in Rhode Island, which is extraordinary, and I want to acknowledge Governor Raimondo's great leadership on that, as well as our whole delegation. Also from a state where just last week our Attorney General filed a lawsuit against major fossil fuel companies, accusing them of contributing to climate change and making clear that we're not going to tolerate holding the next generation responsible for the harm that they caused. And of course to have our entire delegation really understands what important issues this is, not only for Rhode Island, but for the country, but for a state with 400 miles of coastline. This has special significance in terms of our fishing industry, our quality of life, tourism to our state. And so all of your work to make sure we put in place good policies to respond to climate change and to protect the quality of our environment is not only important for today, but for many, many generations. And so thank you for doing that. Thank you for being part of this ongoing work. And I think I'll just end by saying, in a moment where I think there's so much about climate is under attack, the underlying science of it, the resources that are necessary to respond to it, and kind of building a culture in this country which understands our obligation at the local, state, federal level, working with our partners in the community to do all that we can to protect against deterioration of our climate. With the federal government sort of been absent from that and now in a very unproductive way, undoing so much of the important progress we've made, the voices that you add to this debate by your work, by your advocacy, by participating in conversations like this will make a real difference to Rhode Island and to our country. So thank you.